3 years after the day Noah Porter officially became the legal adopted son of Brian and Margaret, an unexpected letter from the past surfaced. And it would challenge everything they believed they understood about forgiveness, about family, and about how to face the choices that had left scars on their lives. Because sometimes, a story does not end the moment a child finds a new home. Sometimes, it is only the beginning of another journey, the journey of those who walked away, and must now learn to live with the very act of letting go. This is the story of Harold Jennings, the man who lost everything because of one desperate decision. And this is also the story of Brian Porter, the man who thought he had stopped loving until he relearned how to hold on to a small, fragile hand. Before we step into this new chapter of the story, tell me in the comments, do you believe that a father can truly redeem himself after abandoning his own child? If you want to continue following emotional stories like this, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss what comes next, because what the letter reveals will change everything. Harold Jennings sat in the small room at Riverside Recovery Center on the outskirts of Philadelphia. Through the window, heavy snow was falling, blanketing the lawn outside in white. It had been 36 months since the day he abandoned Noah at 30th Street Station. 36 months, and not a single day passed without him thinking about the boy. Harold's room was sparse: a single bed, a small wooden table, a chair. There were no pictures on the walls. He had removed every photo of Noah and Eliza after his second suicide attempt. Looking at those faces was too painful. There was a gentle knock on the door. "Harold?" Dr. Patricia Morgan's voice came through. "It's time for your therapy session." Harold stood up slowly, his body heavy like lead. Every step toward the therapy room felt like walking on shards of glass. Every session, he had to face what he had done. Every session, he had to speak aloud the truths he wanted to bury. Dr. Morgan was a woman in her early 50s, with silver hair and eyes that saw right through pretense. She had worked with Harold since his very first day, after a roommate found him unconscious from an overdose of sleeping pills. "Sit down, Harold," she said gently, pointing to the familiar sofa. Harold sat, hands clasped together, eyes fixed on the floor. "What day is it today?" Dr. Morgan asked, one of her usual questions. "November 17th, Harold answered, his voice raspy. "And?" "And 3 years ago, on this exact day, I left my son at the station." His voice broke. "Exactly 3 years." Dr. Morgan nodded. "How does that make you feel?" "How do I feel?" Harold let out a short, bitter laugh. A laugh with no joy. "I feel like a monster, like a man who doesn't deserve to breathe air, like—" He stopped, tears spilling down. "I ask myself every day, is he okay? Where is he living? Does someone love him? Or is he still waiting for me to come back?" "And what if I told you we could find out?" Dr. Morgan asked. "What if I said you could reach out to Noah's adoptive family?" Harold looked up, eyes wide. I can't. I gave up that right." "You gave up your legal rights," Dr. Morgan corrected, "but no one can take away the fact that you are his father. DNA doesn't change, Harold. The question is, what do you want to do with that truth?" Harold shook his head violently. "I don't deserve it. I abandoned him. You made a decision out of desperation," Dr. Morgan said firmly. "A terrible decision, yes. But a decision you believed, right or wrong, was the best for your child. Now the question isn't whether you deserve anything. It's whether you have the courage to face what you've done and try to repair it." "How can I possibly repair abandoning a child?" Harold whispered. "By living a life so that if Noah ever searches for you one day, he will find a man who has changed. A man who learned to face pain instead of running from it. Dr. Morgan leaned forward. Harold, you've been sober for 36 months. You've fought through suicidal thoughts. You are here, doing the hard work. That is a beginning. But it's not enough, Harold said. It will never be enough. Maybe not, Dr. Morgan agreed. But it's all you can do. Keep trying, a little each day. And maybe one day, it will be enough for you to look in the mirror without hating the man staring back. March brought the first warm days after the long winter. Harold began attending group therapy sessions at the center, sitting in a circle with other men and women, each carrying their own guilt and their own pain. The first time Harold shared his story with the group was on a rainy afternoon. My name is Harold, he began, his voice trembling, and I abandoned my 3-year-old son at a train station. Silence filled the room. Not judgment, but understanding. Because here, in this circle, everyone carried their own sins. Why? A woman named Janet asked softly. She had abandoned her 2 children while chasing drugs. Because I thought he'd be better off without me, Harold said. My wife died giving birth to him. I had to choose, save my wife or save my son. I chose my son. And after that, every time I looked at his face, I only saw the woman I'd lost. He wiped his tears. I had no money, no job. He needed surgery for his leg. And I couldn't face failing every day. So I ran. Marcus, an older man who had abandoned his family because of alcohol, spoke up. And what do you think now? I think I'm a coward, Harold said. I think I stole from my son the one thing he had a right to, a father, even a bad one. But did you love him? Janet asked. With all my heart, Harold whispered. That's the worst part. I loved him so much I thought he deserved a life better than the one I could give. Dr. Morgan, who facilitated the group, said, Love distorted by guilt and grief can lead us to terrible choices. But the important thing is, it is still love. And love can be healed. In June, Harold began participating in the vocational training program at the center. There was a small woodworking shop where those in recovery could learn skills. Harold had once been a skilled carpenter before everything collapsed. When he picked up a hammer for the first time in 3 years, his hand trembled. But then, muscle memory returned. The familiar motions came back. He started with simple things, picture frames, small boxes. Gradually, the projects became more complex. Thomas Brennan, the veteran carpenter who supervised the workshop, watched Harold work one day. You've got good hands, he said. A shame to waste that. I've wasted many things, Harold replied, sawing without stopping. Then don't waste this, Thomas said. Skill is one of the few things that doesn't leave you, even when everything else has. And Thomas was right. When Harold worked with wood, his mind felt quiet. The sound of the saw, the smell of sawdust, the smooth grain under his fingers. They gave him something he hadn't had in years. Purpose. One afternoon, while Harold was making a small table, Dr. Morgan stepped into the workshop. It's beautiful, she said, touching the polished surface. Thank you, Harold said. Who are you making it for? Harold paused. I don't know. Maybe you're making it for Noah, Dr. Morgan suggested. One day, when you're ready, you could give him something made by your hands. Something that says, even when you couldn't be there, you still thought of him. Harold felt his throat tighten. He wouldn't want anything from me. Maybe not now, Dr. Morgan said. But one day? Who knows? People can change. Harold. And forgiveness can come from places we don't expect. In October, Dr. Morgan gave Harold an assignment. "I want you to write a letter," she said during their session, "to Noah. You don't have to send it, but I want you to write what you wish you could tell him." "I don't know where to start," Harold admitted. "Start with the truth," Dr. Morgan said simply. Harold spent 3 weeks writing that letter. Every night, he sat at the desk in his room with a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Sometimes he wrote a whole page, sometimes only one sentence before tearing it up and starting again. Finally, on a bitterly cold November night, he finished it. "My dear Noah, you will never read this letter. I know that, but I need to write it. Every night before I sleep. I wonder what you are doing. Are you sleeping soundly? Do you dream beautiful dreams? Is someone reading you a bedtime story? I hope you are happy. I hope you have a family who loves you in the way I could not. I hope you do not remember me, because remembering me means remembering pain. But if you do remember, please know this. I did not leave you because I did not love you. I left you because I loved you too much and did not know how to love you the right way. Your mother, Eliza, would hate me for what I did. She would never forgive me, and I do not deserve forgiveness. But you, Noah, you deserve every good thing in this world, and I hope you are getting it. I will always love you. Harold Jennings, the man who once was your father. Harold folded the letter, placed it in an envelope, and tucked it into a drawer. He never sent it, but writing it released something inside him. A little pain, a little guilt. Not enough to heal, but enough to keep going. While Harold wrestled with his past inside the recovery center, Noah was growing and flourishing in the arms of Brian and Margaret. The boy was now 6 years old, taller, more confident. The leg brace was still there, but thanks to physical therapy, Noah's steps had become much steadier. And his math ability? It continued to astonish anyone who met him. Every morning, Brian drove Noah to Jefferson Academy, a private school for gifted children. There, Noah studied math at a level far beyond his age group. But Noah wasn't just smart. He had a big heart. One afternoon, when Brian arrived to pick Noah up, his teacher, Ms. Ellen Rodriguez, walked over to him. "Mr. Porter, I want to tell you something," she said with a warm smile. "We had a new student today, a boy named Michael. Shy, scared, wouldn't talk to anyone. And Noah. Noah sat with him during lunch, shared his food, and said, 'I know what it feels like to be new. Everyone here is really nice. You'll like it soon.' A wave of warm pride rose in Brian's chest. 'He remembers,' he said softly. 'Remembers what?' the teacher asked. 'That feeling of being new, of being different, of being someone who needed to be welcomed.' That evening, on the drive home, Brian asked gently, 'You helped a new friend today?' Noah nodded. 'Yes, Michael. He was really scared, Dad. Like I used to be.' 'You're not scared anymore?' Noah thought for a moment, then answered with innocent honesty, 'I'm still scared sometimes, but I know you and Mom will be there, so I'm okay.' Brian had to swallow hard. Little moments like that made every hardship of fatherhood more worthwhile than he could ever explain. But as Noah grew older, the questions began to appear. One May evening, as Brian was reading Noah a bedtime story, the boy suddenly asked, 'Dad, why don't I look like you and Mom?' Brian froze. 'What do you mean?' 'Jamie says he looks like his dad. Sophia says she has her mom's eyes. But I don't look like you or Mom.' Brian set the book down, choosing his words carefully. 'Remember how I told you that you were adopted?' 'Yes.' 'That means you weren't born from me and Mom. But you're our son in another way. Through love. Through choice. Noah nodded, thinking deeply. So, I have other parents? The ones who made me? Yes, Brian answered softly.